Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of First Person Mapper. Cat Food and I are here to host, and we have for you a very special episode looking at the crafting of Frostbite, a new Danger Zone map. Well, maybe it's not so new now. We have taken our time getting to this position, but here we are. We are with the authors of the map, some of the many authors of the map, it should be noted. And the project lead, T-R3x3r, in your top right-hand corner. Below him is Slimek and Haaselh0ff, both of them very much responsible for many of the things that you're going to be seeing today. So, as we get right into this, I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to get some answers to some very important questions, such as, how much do you guys actually play Danger Zone? That'll be the first question of the day here for you. So I'll head that over to you, T-R3x3r, because I know you're the one who has the most answer for this.
Yeah, so like I said, I play quite a bit of Danger Zone, like 300 wins, I'd say. Played more than matchmaking, definitely more than matchmaking, like on a daily basis almost. Yeah, I think it's a great game mode. And Valve has really done great things with it so far.
Okay, all right. And what about everybody else here? Since I know that you guys don't play it as much from asking you guys beforehand, I did want to ask, like, in general, what was your excitement to come in to work with T-R3x3r on this particular project here? Like, we'll start with you, Haaselh0ff. I wanted to get your take on, like, why you felt like working on this. Was it just like, oh, cool, an opportunity? Was there anything deeper to it than that? Like, you really wanted to explore something in Danger Zone that hadn't been done before? Or what were the aspirations like?
Despite how little I actually play Counter-Strike, I really like making maps and working with the Source SDK and all that stuff. So I was really interested in a project like this with just some other people, because I know I know I don't have as good of strength as like modeling and such, but I am really familiar with the editor itself and am a pretty good prop placer.
There you go.
Environment artist, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah. So, just from there, I think I came on as just a compiler for the map because I had a 3900X, the Ryzen CPU.
The
and
workhorse,
yeah. But then I think it was Slimek or somebody gave me a task, and they're like, "Here, if you want to try laying out the tunnels area for me, that would be great." And so I started on it, and I guess they liked it because they let me touch other parts of the map. So
okay. Well, that segues nicely into me asking about Slimek here. So, like, can you elaborate on maybe some of the backstory here? Were you just fed up working with the underground? You're like, just get this guy to do it. What was that like? How did that partnership come along?
Actually, I was assigning tasks for the most part for the entire team, as at some point we hit some kind of block, let's say, and I just decided that we should get this project finished. And I started doing a lot of work myself and trying to get the team motivated. And well, basically I knew the map file inside out, so I knew what was needed to be done.
Right.
Sorry, because was also the block that you just mentioned, was it like a motivation basically, or just like no one knew what to do exactly, or?
It was a bunch of things. First of all, Half-Life Alyx was just released, and everyone was into that.
Everyone was distracted.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, not sure, but yeah, there was a bit of a lack of motivation because of just how much needed to be done. It was a lot harder than we originally anticipated.
Because who started off the initial project? Was it like one guy, or was it like a collaboration?
It started as a collaboration, yeah. Actually, it started in October 2019, but it was supposed to be something completely different. A guy named Scratchpost, a member of Squidski's private server, he came up with an idea to split a map into plots and give each mapper one plot to work with like a specific size, and we would combine it and make a map, like not a danger zone map, but a defuse or hostage map.
Right.
So
was this before they introduced like instancing in the engine, in the editor?
Sorry?
Was this like before they introduced like instancing in the editor?
Oh no, instancing was in the Hammer like since 2007, I think.
Oh really? Because it's been like used a lot more nowadays, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think on Anubis they also used it like to work on the same level at the same time.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys basically took this technology that maybe was underutilized for Counter-Strike maps specifically, and you guys were able to make good use out of it with this particular project. And like you were saying earlier, it started out as almost like maybe a diffuse map or a hostage map, but just like a throwaway idea. And now suddenly, this would work super good for a danger zone map where there has to be tons of areas. Is that sort of like how that process started?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I thought it was an ideal way to work on a danger zone map because we had a lot of people involved. Like everyone thought it was pretty exciting to work on such a collaboration. So our first theme was going to be like a city. It was going to be Boston. But
my hometown, nice, good to know.
Wow.
And then find out Pronogo lives there. And
yeah, they're like, get this out of here. We have to model his house.
Yeah,
not happening.
Yeah, people like that coming from there, we're not gonna like.
But
like the honors.
Like at that point, I wasn't even on the team, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Although it would be really cool though, like now thinking of it, like with the iconic houses from Boston, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
what made you guys switch over to this at this point? Like,
yeah, Slimek. So I think Slimek wants to get to that.
We quickly realized that we would hit all kinds of limits, and the optimization would be terrible. So we decided to switch the theme, and around that time, jungle was added to the game. Which got T-R3x3r interested in this project. So he joined it, and he gave us the idea of Frostbite, basically.
Okay. All right, let's talk about that.
Tell us about the drawing you made of that.
Okay. Was there some very high art made at the beginning of the?
Oh yeah,
of
some proper paint art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, basically, like at that time when Jungle was introduced, I played like Danger Zone a lot, like I don't know, many hours daily almost in the operation when it came out. I enjoyed it, and then I thought like, making a Danger Zone map would be really cool. So I looked at some themes that could possibly like be suitable, and then like snow theme could be pretty unique. And then I literally just opened up Hammer. And drew like a top-down version of what the map should be like. Like I drew the town, like where I'm standing in right now. I drew the hill, the mountain in the middle, like the ski slopes, like the general idea and kind of the landmarks were already thought out at that point.
Is it still like recognizable? Of course, like you say, there's all these areas are still there, but did they get
you can recognize this when I show you the picture. Yeah. Like it's
because I think it would be like difficult, just like coming up working on your first Danger Zone map. You design it like way differently than like the 5v5 maps, right?
Yes.
So I would guess if I would, I've never done this. So like if I would design one on paper, I probably do it wrong, and then I have to change a lot in the editor afterwards. But this wasn't the case for you.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things I already knew when going into it. Like, for optimization reasons, it's very useful to have, like, a big mountain or something, the highest point of the map in the middle, because it just blocks the visibility from one side to the other.
Yeah, you then use, like, area portals, or?
We use area portal windows on the buildings.
Right. So only in the houses and in big buildings.
Yeah, but also not every building because there's a limit on those, and we hit that limit. So
Right. Yeah.
Classic.
yeah, exactly. But like I knew like this village area, for example, I wanted to have it like raised up a bit and surrounded by rocks and having like a few ways going up and down it because I think it looked quite cool. Some like the general idea, like this canyon was added later because we thought it would be pretty boring having just an open plain here. Having like the canyon here is pretty interesting. And then like along the way, the paint drawing just evolved. And yeah, so the way we went about it, putting it into a hammer, is that Slimek took the drawing I made it into a texture, and just stretched it over the whole map.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So like a big 2K texture.
Yeah.
4K maybe. Yeah, I think 4K is max, right?
I think it's I think it was a 2K drawing.
Right.
And yeah, and then I went in and just edited the terrain the way I thought, like I planned it. Yeah, then then the work began.
Then the work began.
Because yeah, having the terrain is like the easy part, relatively speaking.
Yeah, did you do a bit of displacements or mostly models?
No, like the terrain is all displacements.
Oh shit, yeah. I also like I was looking at these rock walls. They look pretty cool. Is it like custom textures as well?
Those are models. Like all the rocks.
Oh, these are models. Okay. I was gonna say.
Yeah. So all the rocks were models.
But are these like stock models, or did you also like custom?
No, those are custom.
Oh, really cool. Pretty cool.
Those are all custom. Yeah, Squink made a great job with those. They're really great. Yeah. Yeah. So at that point, like we needed to wait on the rock models, for example, because without them you can't really design the level further, because they kind of define like cliffs and edges and also provide cover. So I don't know how we did it then. I think I did most of the rocks in the play area, as far as I can remember, and also placed some trees. And then I think around that time, the others also started on like picking areas they wanted to detail, and started like detailing buildings or coming up with ideas for specific areas.
So everyone could choose like their own area. It was like because Slimek said that he was more or less coordinating everyone.
Yeah.
So
Slimek assigned them to everyone at some point too. I don't know, Slimek. I don't quite remember. It's also it's quite a long time ago. How did we start out? Wasn't it like everyone can pick one at the start, and then we switched over to you assigning them?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
There are some very infamous whiteboards hidden throughout this map. Maybe we could touch on those a little bit here, because I think those might help to even further elucidate, like, oh, there's so and so did this task, right? So we're looking at one right now, and this is, I'm not actually sure what the call out for this one is, but you guys will be able to find your own way. Yeah, everybody's here. So can we talk about all this stuff? I see some things are checked, for example. Some things are, remove area portals, for example. That must have been going towards optimization, like you were talking about a while ago. Make the lift move. I remember asking about this when we were doing the stream, and people said, like, well, without Funk Vehicle, we can't do this. So maybe this is also just basically anything from this list stick out to anybody here as far as like something that you guys were trying to do, or maybe it's just an inside joke. How did stuff like this come about?
I mean, Haaselh0ff, do you want to chime in on that?
On the lifts, or
in general?
In general, the lift part, like we were saying in your stream a while ago. Oh,
hold on a second. You're lagging, so we can hear what you're saying.
Oh, is anything better? I didn't change anything.
It's probably the snow.
Oh, maybe it's
snowing on your end. I have no idea.
My internet connection is going to the Uber.
Okay.
We agree with that statement, yes.
Yeah.
Once you disconnect and reconnect, sometimes that fixes it.
Sure.
Go for it.
And in the meantime, I can go on point 3, reprogram delivery drones. So when we published Frostbite, which was also... Can you say something?
No, he was just coming back in. Let's see if we got anything. Brief technical issues, but
Oh, let's try this.
yeah, it looks like you're still suffering the same fate there.
All right.
Maybe just go on for a bit and then.
Yeah, that's fine. We can throw out the T-Rexer for now. The overlay will be a little scuffed until he comes back in, but that's fine. No big deal.
All right.
So, like when we released Frostbite, it was kind of interesting because there was another map we knew was in development, Arctic, by the guy who made Jungle. Yeah, and he released it 2 weeks before our map, and we were like, okay. We kind of have to release it now because if Valve wants to pick a map, well, ours has to be out there. So we released it and it was really unfinished. Like there's some very rough edges. Like this whole building we are standing in right now wasn't there. It was just some block, pretty much. It was was completely different map almost. Like major parts of the map are now completely redesigned. But we released it anyway, and like a week later, the new map rotation came in, and with that update, there was a string found in the map files called DZ Frostbite, which was obviously interesting. But we found out that 3clicks Philip made a video about the map and pointed out that the drones don't properly work because it's obviously not set on an island. So Valve took the time and programmed or basically hard coded the drone spawning height for the map file DZ Frostbite at that point.
Nice. Did you also talk to the other guys that made Arctic? Was it like a nice competition, or was it like?
We talked to him from time to time, but like not really that much. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right, because there's always competition between mappers, right? Who's map gonna make it? And most of the time it's super friendly, though. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, it must have been gratifying to see that, like, not only does your map wind up in the strings there, but at the same time you suddenly have the Valve dev sort of hard coding some constants for you, and like, oh yeah, sure, your map is not only like should probably end up being added to the game, but at the same time you guys are getting special treatment. Like, yeah, sure, we'll do that.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's, I think, point 3 refers to that.
Reprogram delivering drones. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Point 5, remove text infos. It's just a horror story, basically. Slimek, you can go into that. You know more about the technical stuff than I do.
Yeah. So, in the compiler, there is this thing called text infos. It's basically information about every face that's textured, and there's a hard limit for that, which is like 11,000 something. Don't remember now, but we exceeded it many times, and the only solution was to convert some of our brushwork into models, which was tedious at first, but we found some workflows for that.
How did you guys do that? Did you also use a 3D Max with Wallworm, or
Blender mostly?
Right. Is there because I'm using 3D Max, but is Blender also good for mapping? I've really no idea.
Yeah, there are some add-ons like Blender source tools and
okay.
Yeah.
Are they made by the Blender team or community?
No.
Right.
So one of the early chats that we had in the live stream was from, I believe, Vaya, who said something to the effect of, "This is going to be the source is jank stream. This is going to be the source is bad and has some problems stream." So I assume that must have, there's got to be something to that, because already, just by virtue of asking some basic questions here, you guys are recounting optimization issues, problems with area portal limits, problems with text info stuff, like some pretty significant issues, right? And Do you think that, I mean, even the fact that Valve had to go in and hard code some fix for the drones instead of you guys being able to change that yourself in like a gameplay config file or whatever also speaks to how jank, for lack of a better term, Source actually is. At this point, I know that you guys have already said that you guys are going to be working on another map, and in fact, we're going to be teasing that a little bit later anyway. What made you guys decide to persevere not only for this map, but also to say, yeah, let's do another one? Like what was the desire? Like, basically, how did you guys manage to sort of make it through this experience? Like Slimek was talking earlier. Oh, it's really difficult actually to, maintain motivation for the whole time. Sometimes if there's so many things to do and there's so many issues with Source. So bearing that in mind, what made you guys feel like it's time to do another one, or that's still some territory you want to explore?
I mean, this project was quite rewarding, so
okay.
It's obviously the incentive to do another one. And in the end, I think everyone is pretty proud of how the map came out, even though it looked like quite a daunting task at times. But we've finished it once now, and we learned like a ton, like everyone on the team. And I believe we can do the second map way more efficient and better in pretty much every regard, just because of all the things we already learned with Frostbite.
Is it going to be like exactly the same team?
No, we've got less people.
Right.
We've got no one new, but we've got 6 people right now, I believe.
Right.
Is my mic
guys didn't want to do it anymore. We're like, fuck this. Fuck Source.
Yeah. For example, like the main modeler for this map, who did the rocks and most of the textures, I believe all of the textures, just worked with me on Calavera, for example.
Right.
Kind of oversource for now. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But
cool.
It sounded like you were trying to get in here, Haaselh0ff. Did you have something that occurred to you?
Oh, I was just trying to say, is the mic working now?
Yeah, it's fine. We got your display picture. Oh,
let's see.
There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I was just saying, now that we've had more experience with this, and I mean, there were certain situations where it was me and Squidski up one night, and I was trying to run a compile, and it just broke. I don't know. We still don't really know what happened. Something in the compiler just decided to just start crashing, and it was something in this town area that was causing it. And so we had to constantly, like, hide something in an instance, recompile it, see if that fixed it. Doesn't work. Hide it again. Start the compile. And it was a series of very torturous hours of trying to fix something that you have no idea why it broke. Only to discover that apparently this building had too many displacements.
You didn't get an error in the compiler?
Yeah. I think at the time we had tried, or Squidski had tried looking through something on it. I don't remember for sure, but we figured out it was something with displacements, I think. So we just, what was it? We destroyed the displacements and then just left them as regular brushes, and that somehow fixed it. It made no sense.
That's so weird. Yeah, those are like the worst bugs as well. Like we have no idea what's also the bug you guys are having right now. Maybe you also want to talk about it, like a little bit what you already tried, and maybe someone knows.
Right, yeah, that's its own thing that I almost forgot to mention. So thank you for reminding me there, Catfood. So for those who aren't aware, there have been issues where on startup, when people start to load into Frostbite, their CSGO client just crashes. Now, I assume it must be something different than what happens when you normally run a map after a workshop update. It almost 100% of the time crashes for me anytime I do that. I assume that must be different. Maybe it's not. Maybe you guys can elaborate on that. But has the source even been tracked at this point, or is this some super obscure bug that, like, it's sort of like what Haaselh0ff was just explaining about the house in here? It's like something that you guys might have to just like tear apart the map to find.
If you want to go ahead, we don't know. That's the thing.
It doesn't spit out an error. It doesn't spit out an error message. I've talked to Valve, and they don't really know, so they asked me to gather like some crash dumps, which like from players who I'm guessing played a lot of Danger Zone, in the hopes that some of the crash dumps are actually from the Frostbite crash. Although it could just be the case that this crash doesn't produce a crash dump at all. Yeah, but we don't know, and Valve doesn't know right now either. So, yeah,
That's so annoying.
Yeah.
and it's
That must
also
be
like
one of the most difficult things to maintain motivation for, particularly since you guys have had the map out, like you've gotten through all of the initial hurdles. You almost think now we're done, like now we balance it or whatever. We take in feedback, but and that's almost like a full-time thing unto itself. But at least that's like rewarding because you've gotten through the first hurdle, you've gotten the map into the game, and now something like this happens that is kind of out of your guys' control. It feels like I'm sure that must be pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, especially because the map has been really well received in the community, especially in the Danger Zone community. Like everyone loves it, from what I can tell.
It really sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
because it's not like, I mean, it's not for a lack of trying. We've tried some different things to see if some stuff may fix it, but again, like, yeah, there's only so much we can do, and I assume that Valve has internal tools to help with this stuff. But maybe they're in the same boat we are, where without a crash file.
Yeah, they didn't look at the dem files yet, or.
I'll send them like the ones I've gathered on Monday. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I saw that there was a tweet, a call to action there.
Yeah.
Send me your crash dumps if you got them. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Hopefully some are from Frostbite and can help, but we'll see. So don't really know much right now, unfortunately. It's it's kind of a bad situation for really everyone involved. Because like when I'm playing Frostbite 2, I'm incredibly annoyed when it just crashes.
Right. I was gonna say, do the demos have something in common, like hardware or
no.
resolution or something? I don't know. Of course, resolution is like everyone plays basically the same, but
like it might happen more often when you play another danger map before, but it has also crashed for me when it's like the first map I play after startup. And like sometimes it crashes like 2 times in a row, and sometimes it doesn't crash for like 10 hours.
It's so strange. It's also like it doesn't happen on other Danger Zone maps, just on Frostbite.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The other Danger Zone maps do crash very rarely. Like from time to time they can crash, but Frostbite is relatively often compared to the other ones.
Yeah, it also sucks because now that you guys are working on a new map, you have no idea what was taken into account to like
to avoid it in the next one.
To avoid it. Yeah. So okay. Hopefully they can do something with the demos.
Yeah, use the opportunity as well to remind people that if you guys have those crash dumps, you got Rexer's Twitter. It's on the screen there. Give him a follow. Send him those things. He'll be able to make use of them, hopefully, and that's basically the way that we can get it out there, right?
And if you get like a response from Valve, also ask them about your wingman map, the Cavalera, right? What happened with
that? At one point I'll ask about that again.
Well, hopefully they let you know what happened with that.
Just for context, quickly, basically the Calavera map had it was in the files, and then T-Rexer asked Valve, why is the files there but the map's not? And because the map wasn't available, and then they removed the files, and so that was their response. So pretty epic. Love to see that, but hopefully there will be a nice little response at some point where it actually gets properly rotated or something. But that all being said, I wanted to also sort of, since we were just dwelling on the sort of ho-hum negative nature of working within Source and some of its many issues, and they are legion, of course, I did want to take us back to some of the stuff that you were talking about earlier, T-Rexer, about how you guys have learned a lot as a team, but also on an individual basis, as far as how you're going to structure the next map. And so if we're looking a little bit into the future there, I guess I can just ask all three of you guys on an independent basis, but is there anything that was like the most important or just a set of most important lessons for you personally when you were working on? And we could start with you, T-Rexer, as well, since obviously you were the one who brought it up. What was like the biggest thing that changed your perception in general here? Like, what was the biggest lesson that you learned, or the most important lesson that you learned from working on Frostbite?
I'd say, since I'm mostly responsible for the general layout, that the undergrounds are completely useless.
That's Haaselh0ff's work, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not a
Yes.
very nice thing to say then, because he's also
Yeah.
How rude of you, sir! How rude! No.
Like we've by far the most the biggest underground of any danger zone map. Like if you let me go in there, like you can be in there for like the whole round, whole 10 minutes basically. It's massive.
I can see from your webcam that you're probably in there right now. I'm not looking at
Yeah.
He's just
It is huge.
It's really dark, yeah. But again, I've heard this comment before that there was like a lot of tunnels. But you also said like it's been well received. What's the general feedback on that?
Like people don't mind the underground at all, but it's just not used. Like I've never seen anyone in here, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe once or twice I've seen anyone go in here.
But that also has its own vibe in the map that's like very open. And then you go into the underground knowing that there's almost no one there. That's also like has how do you say this? It has its own spot within the level, if that makes sense. Just because it's underused. In such a huge map, it's like it might be a nice addition.
I mean, yeah.
This is also for you, Haaselh0ff. I'm picking your side now.
Thank you.
Underground areas are definitely like a part of danger zone because that's like the area where you're pretty safe for the most part, but you also don't have like tablet reception.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't see the map in there, so it's kind of a trade-off. And on Frostbite, you can basically get from anywhere to any other point on the map through the tunnels. Like they're like a really complex system. Yeah, but since nobody really uses them, and looking at Blackside, for example, Blackside has like multiple smaller tunnel areas or like cellar areas, which are far more often used, just because you can get quick in and out without being stuck down there, like without the tablet, and without being able to to move around, because like movement is a huge part of danger zone.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So because it's like more close quarters, there's not really that much opportunity for example, the exo jump to come into play, right? Like you have to almost structure the underground in a way that has the verticality, has the opportunity for quick rotates to get to another part of the map. But also, like, if you make it too powerful, then it might be overused. And that was sort of my next angle of attack on that is, do you think that sort of what Catfood is saying, where people might start to go there because nobody's going there and they know it's like even more safe than a normal underground map would be? Do you think that this is a problem? Like, basically, if you had to estimate, do you think it's equal parts like the community not adapting and not using this and not working it into their strategy, and also the map not necessarily making it as palatable as possible, as attractive as possible? Do you think it's like more the map's layout doesn't favor it as enough, or do you think it's more the community just not picking up on it enough? What do you guys make of that in general?
Well, I think the undergrounds are fairly strong, like in theory, but it's just not really useful in danger zone.
Yeah.
Like how the meta is right now with bump mines and everything, which is about quick movement, and the undergrounds are the complete opposite of that. They're like basically for the campers, who just sit around the whole round. Which, to be fair, there are quite a few of those too. But like the vast majority of players, I think, likes running around and actually engaging in battles. Because I mean, the goal of the game is actually to kill someone and not just to sit in a corner.
True.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. So I think on our next project we slimmed down the underground areas to like smaller ones, which hopefully will get more utilization.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds fair.
Cool.
Slimek, I want to turn the tables to you now and ask you what you think the best lesson that you learned, the most impactful lesson that you learned from working on this map was. Because obviously you said you were on assigning tasks. I'm sure that must have been like, even if you had done that before, this must have been like the largest scale environment for you to be doing that in. So what specifically do you think that you took away from the experience of your collaboration, your work on Frostbite?
Actually, the biggest takeaway from Frostbite is to never make a danger zone map like not an island.
Oh, yeah.
It just there's so many issues that come from like this type of border we have. Like as we mentioned before, the drones. Also, players not being able to recognize where the border starts, and the border being relatively hard to draw. Like, it's pretty expensive with all the trees and grass over here. So that's why our next map is an island.
Okay, that's a reasonable one too. It's almost like you guys are figuring out a meta for how to develop the map in the first place, right? Which is sort of what we're getting.
Danger Zone was not meant to be a non-island map. Like, that's not the way Wolf intended it ever to be. I'm pretty sure.
Makes sense. In that case,
it looks really cool though. Like I'm now explicitly looking at the borders, but maybe because you can go over this, right? Or okay. Oh, so this is the border. Yeah.
I think you might have no-clipped through the player barrier there.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible to. I could be wrong.
Right,
I don't think it's possible to get up there. I like the towers though, because it gives it that that feel of you are definitely being watched as an experiment, right? It's almost like reinforcing the lore, if you will, which doesn't really happen as much. Yeah, doesn't really happen as much in the other maps. Like they've got this like almost island playground for you to explore and to fight around, but the fact that you're on an island is almost like their Valve's version of the storytelling, whereas you guys have that environmental storytelling with these watchtowers instead.
There was also this movie where they actually did this, right? It was like this. I think it was also on an island where they put on a bunch of random people and they had to fight to the death or something. Like
Hunger Games.
Is it Hunger Games? I have no idea. But
well, I think that had the same idea. Yeah, something like that.
Right. They're being watched all the time, and the movie kind of cool.
The Hunger Games.
There you go. Well, Haaselh0ff, I'm turning the question to you now. What was the biggest personal stride that you made? Like, what do you think you've learned the most about when it comes to Danger Zone and map making and all that? What was the biggest lesson from Frostbite? Oh, you're muted, I think.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
Sorry. No, to not make a giant underground area again. T-R3x3r stole mine. It's not fair.
There you go.
No, I think I learned a lot on on like different detailing aspects. I learned that you can throw a wooden trim on anything and it'll look pretty decent. So that was nice.
There you go.
You mean like this in the room I'm at? Or?
Oh yeah, definitely. If I thought a room looked a little too bland on the wallpaper, because it's just like a wall and then a ceiling. I never liked that, so I was just like, I'll just throw a trim up there.
These are all like models, right?
Yeah, we had to turn all that into models because of text infos.
Right. Yes. Okay.
But and then I guess also learned that text infos are a real bitch sometimes, and you have to really watch out in how you're doing your texturing so that you don't run into issues later down the line. I think if we had done that from the beginning, we wouldn't have had so many issues later on in compiles just failing because we had too many.
So yeah, that's a really good lesson for the next one.
Yeah.
So also, shall we jump into the next one, or you guys say?
We can. If there are any other questions regarding Frostbite?
Yeah, I should mention as well, if you guys have questions in the chat specifically, we can certainly ask those. So while I wait for any of those to come in, what I will say as a sort of parting gift here is, since I was just going through the list and asking you guys about like what you learned and what you want to do differently, I've got a couple of other similar veined questions there. One of them being, if you each could give me your favorite area of the map. It doesn't necessarily have to be done by you, but just an area that you look at and you think this is really good. Could also be yours. Like Haaselh0ff might be like, yeah, these tunnels are great. Like,
tunnels are great.
Yeah. So, I mean, totally fine if you want to do that, but I'll throw it back to you, Haaselh0ff. Is there a particular area of the map that you really appreciate? And
I will say it is an area that I did, but I really like this cave area because I think it. At first, I had done it with only displacements, and it was very, very flat. But eventually, Squink made these non where is it, non-snow version of these rocks,
I
where
see.
they're just the regular rock texture, and I was like, oh yeah, those are real nice. Let's just throw them everywhere in here. But I think it really made it look a lot better to me, at least. I wish I could have done more with this, but the underground was already big enough, so let's not. So, yeah, I really liked like working on this and this in general.
Okay, makes sense. Let's turn it to Slimek then. What's your favorite area of the map?
The lake area probably, because I made the lake texture. I mean the ice texture.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty cool. It's reflective.
This composition is also really cool. I think with the colors and the tower on the small island. I think this is also from a real place, right?
Yeah.
The town where you have this like the clock tower on the lake.
Yeah, that's in Austria. Yep.
Right. That looks really cool.
Yeah. My favorite area is probably the town, because I think it provides like gameplay that's not really on any of the other danger zone maps. It's like inside the streets, and it's quite cool. Yeah. Although one thing I regret is that pretty much every room is accessible, which might look cool on paper, but when you play it, like camping in one of these rooms is really annoying.
I see. It's hard to know, like as a player, what the predictable angles are going to be, or where the engagements are going to be if there are so many. Right?
Yeah, there's just so many rooms, and I think it just would also work if you just close off more rooms and just have like the first floor, or maybe just some rooms like on the Valve official maps on the tourist area on Black Set, for example, where you have like this huge complex, but only like the upper floor is accessible with like 2 rooms. So that's.
I really like this detail as well, where the chimney of the oven is like actually like the chimney on the roof as well, like in the lines. I'm not sure if it's on purpose, but
I'm sure Quitting thought of that.
just say yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah, it's funny, those small details where that you match up like the interior to the exterior. Even Valve screws that up so many times. So it's nice to see it done right?
Yeah.
Okay. We do have a question that's related to town. I think church is near here, right? Church is in the town, I think.
Yeah.
Somebody said show the church Jeff. I don't know what that means, so you guys will have to tell me. Somebody named Jeff?
I don't know.
No? Just somebody trying to be funny in the chat? Hey, I see you. I actually don't see you. My chat scrolled by too much. But whoever you are.
Maybe they're talking about the Vostok textures. Or Vostok.
Oh yeah.
It's a little rough if you look too closely at it.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. You guys have like the people over there.
The door model is rough. See, Rush had a question. Statistically, the best place to drop for most lead. I don't even know.
Town, obviously. Everybody should play town.
No,
every time.
It's definitely not town. I think
it's
like
the tunnels.
Might be the tunnels.
It's so big. Yeah, there's plenty of loot, right?
Yeah. But another thing about the town, like I've seen many people complain about the town because they feel like there's not enough loot, which is caused by the many rooms, because you expect like going into every building there's like a bunch of loot, because that's how the other buildings work on the map. But
and how buildings in general work in Danger Zone, right? Like in the other maps as well.
But here there's so many buildings together, you can't just put all the loot of them in town, because they can only spawn like 2 or 3 people at maximum here. So it has to be more evenly distributed. But to answer Rush's question, I always spawn at village. I think there's a pretty good loot amount. Although probably the lake is also quite good.
So lake
I wouldn't spawn on radio. I think radio kind of sucks for loot. I don't know.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe.
You only made the map. You don't know what he's talking about. So what I want to see too is like apparently we've been talking up the underground areas and how like maybe they're just underused by the general populace. So maybe the next time Rushley goes on his stream, he can just drop in and go straight for that underground area. You know?
Oh yeah.
I think a rule is not to enter any buildings and undergrounds for him.
Oh, is it like he's made that a rule, just like not ordering a
Yes.
scout or something?
Yep.
Okay. That's unfortunate because nobody will ever
Sad.
know how good the underground is without him streaming it and bump mining inside it. So
True.
it's all right. Happens. Okay. So I guess in that case, what do we have actually? Let's see. Somebody, Pullman asks, and he also he's the man, of course. He knows what I'm talking about. He says, I would like to know what the roles of the 10 people working on the map were. So obviously we've got the three of you here. How many can you recount is the question.
Ooh.
Does everybody know everybody else's role?
I don't. Maybe Slimek does.
Okay, so Squidsky made this big tower, and he made this control panel, and these poles.
Right.
What else?
Squidsky's easy, right? Anyway. He's the one who he made the Squidsky. He put his name and avatar on and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually made by Scratch Post, like this squid. What else? Squink made pretty much all the textures.
Right.
And props.
Yeah. Haaselh0ff detailed pretty much all of the cabins and buildings, except for a few.
He was the trim man, yeah.
Mr. Trim.
Clicks made the church and this building. Quoting made the entire town, pretty much, except for these two buildings. Clicks also made these red lake houses. Quoting made this tower. Squink also made like this house template, I would say, because it's also used over here.
That was going to be another one of my questions, is how much of this stuff was ended up getting recycled and moved around a little bit. Like I noticed one area that feels eerily out of Blacksite is one of the tunnel entrances. Looks very similar to a Blacksite tunnel entrance. And, right after that, there's like the same almost treehouse mechanic thing. It's this one right here. Yeah, we're on it. So I think it's this one.
The idea is copied. It's not one-to-one copied, but it's basically rebuilt. Yeah. It's another thing on the next map. We won't have any recycled buildings.
Okay.
Like everything should be unique.
More than likely, if it's a tunnels entrance, I may have recycled it for laziness purposes and intended to redo it, and then never got around to it. Very, very tragic.
I suppose that makes some sense though, because you guys did say that when you first released this, it was still a lot of work left, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that also leads nicely into Rushley's second question, which is, are there any map changes planned for any future updates? So yeah, I mean, since we're about to move on to your next project, this would be a nice sort of signpost. Do you guys have any plans to continue to update Frostbite? Besides, obviously, hopefully you guys can track down some issues with the crashes or whatever. But is there anything like more large scale than that, like layout wise or whatever?
I'm always looking for feedback regarding the layout. We are open to changes, I'd say. Although right now, from what I've seen, everyone talking about the overall map structure seems to be fairly well regarded. But if Rush has any feedback or areas he wants to see changes to, can just DM me his idea and I'll think about it. So yeah. We're open to changes. Yeah.
If anybody has them, I would like to hear them as well, because been getting a lot of the bug reports, of course, which are very nice. Haven't heard much, at least from our feedback posts, about the map itself. So if anybody has an idea for that, I would also be down to listen. Very interested.
Well, we did most changes before the map got added, like the
like we redid this entire ski lift. I think you played the
skillet
original.
buildings. The skillet buildings were completely remade, like a few weeks before the map got added. Also, the resort buildings were completely remade. And this restaurant got added as well. What else?
There was some bar that got swapped around, but that might have been for a later update.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That one was because I did not realize how poor a circular bars would be. So it is now pretty flat.
Yeah, if you look at the operation announcements, the screenshots for Frostbite actually show an old version, where you can see the ski lift was just the old building, and this whole area of the map was remade. Same with the cabins; they were mostly remade because we knew fairly like early on that this map was going to be added, and we used that time to improve like a lot of things on the map.
Yeah, I know. On some of it, some of the changes we made, which were like really for the better, was trying to base some of the buildings more around the terrain rather than just throwing them on there. Because like if you'll notice, like this restaurant building looks more like it was in the terrain rather than just plastered on there, and like this one's built around the terrain. Stuff like that I thought was really a choice for the better. And,
it feels
really
more grounded, right? It feels like there's somebody actually just set aside time to make almost like an architect came in and said, all right, you need the foundation here and you need these support posts. And so it feels more like a real place instead of just a convenient position to take fights in, right? It's like that, immersion has to be preserved. So that makes sense. That makes sense. I've got a question here. I'm actually going to ask Cat Food this question because I'm going to use this opportunity to almost broach this topic. And we can almost talk about this like just almost in casual conversation, but I know you, Cat Food, you've been doing a lot of work on Engage lately because obviously it gets added to the map. People have some feedback for you. Maybe they don't phrase it as well as you would like them to either, but they've got some feedback for you. And so you take some time to start rehashing some of the areas. When do you think the map, like any map, is actually done? Or I guess a better question is, do you think any map is actually done? Because even Valve update their maps from time to time. They do it very slowly, obviously. But what do you think the process of iteration looks like for a CSGO map? Obviously, you're doing a 5v5 diffuse map, and these guys are doing Danger Zone. But like, I'm sure some common ground can be reached. What's your take on that in general?
Yeah, that's really hard to answer because basically it's never done, kind of think. Because like also players come up with new metas and everything, so you have to. Of course, this is not for Engage because it's not played that much. But like if you look at like even the most solid maps, they change over time. Now also with Mirage that they added the bench. So you can now it's now one boost. You can just jump into the window. Yep. It's just like because they came up with these smokes where it was like basically impossible to retake A. And it's just the same with Engage. I'm really happy with it right now. Like I saw all the feedback that came back. And I played this a lot, and you get like a lot of opinions, but then it's still difficult to figure out because you can't satisfy everyone, right? So you try to go the middle way, and that was like the first Engage that got out. It was like A side, for example, it was complex, but most players didn't think it was too complex. Then it was added to the game, and then you got like the shitstorm that A side was way too complex. So I took a couple of weeks just like to completely redo the A side, and I think now it's like. As best as can be for what I think anyway, and then of course now you have to wait until players get used to the new angles and everything, and then maybe you have to change it again, and otherwise hopefully of course it's gonna be nice this time. So, but I think like every level designer would say like at one point you have to say now it's done, I'm happy with it. Be honest to yourself, be happy with it, and then continue, and then
Does this sound similar for you guys for the Frostbite side of things? Is this a similar sort of sentiment, or are you guys more aggressively pursuing that change? Like, if you start working on this other map more heavily, say it gets added into the game as well, Would you still consider updates to Danger Zone, or is that contingent on like it staying in the game? What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, if it's staying in the game, we're obviously gonna keep developing it. If it's not in the game, I doubt it.
Yeah, that's difficult. I have the same. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you lose that that player base, obviously, and unless somebody really likes the map enough to host it on another server, it's hard to get more feedback from there, I guess. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Seems right. Seems about right. That's another thing too, is that like Faceit hubs with the Mapcore hub, right? That's going to be that's been going for a little while, but maybe the interest still isn't there to justify the same level of attention that obviously a whole group of actual CSGO players just hop into the client and pop into your map go. So I'm sure that must be different, but some of you guys have experience with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I also sorry, go on, Rexer.
yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I also think that's also with Mapcore. Like, of course, there's also like a lot of players, but there's also like a lot of level designers on there. And the feedback from a player that's not a level designer is way different than a player that is a level designer, because it looks at different things. So I think it's also like important to have like both. So you want to get like the opinion of level designers from like this, like, but most of the time it's going to be like you should change this or you should change that, and where a player is going to be like, I find it difficult to go there. And then you have to come up with a solution instead of the level designer trying to give you the solution. But in a lot of times, it just doesn't work like that, because he didn't spend the same amount of time on the level, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think if you want to have like feedback, of course, like Haaselh0ff also said, you need like a big player base, and the first group of players, not just one skill or level designers or whatever, like everyone. And then again, like it's really difficult to. I guess you guys should be really, really happy as well. Like, we're proud that that's been received so well, because it's difficult to please the community, right? Because there's so many different players.
Yeah, I mean that's another reason why it's so unfortunate that the map crashes for some random reasons.
Yep, that really sucks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Rushley obviously has another question in the chat asking about DZ stats. Did Valve supply you with anything like that to help you make some changes, more informed perhaps? I know that other mappers sometimes will get the stats maybe a little bit late, but have you guys received anything like that, or are they not doing that for Danger Zone?
We haven't asked yet.
No.
I can ask.
Yeah, we haven't really
tomorrow.
asked it.
Okay.
That's a good point. I'm just gonna ask tomorrow when I ask about the crashes again.
So now you have 3 questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So,
mainly we've been using was it XPaw from the SteamDB group has a page where they it tells you how many people are playing the different given maps and tells you player stats and all that jazz. I think that's been pretty useful to know. Of course, all it really tells me now at this point is that Danger Zone's numbers are pretty low, and that they pretty much play all the maps equally.
Yeah.
And that must be also due to the rotation system that Valve has, where every 5 minutes or whatever it is, the maps will change. So it would be very remarkable almost if one map did get played disproportionately more.
Yeah.
People are literally not queuing. They're deliberately structuring their bathroom breaks and all that around like, oh yeah, I'm done with this map. And the next one's coming up. All right, I'll use the bathroom. So I guess that'll
but the Danger Zone player base is fairly consistent, like at around like 2,500 players. So there's not a significant drop off or increase like any given day.
That's pretty cool, though. At least like there's always going to be at least that in general, and unless Valve does something really crazy with the game balance or whatever. But for the most part, players should maintain, and maybe it'll increase in popularity as we were talking about earlier. So,
I mean, I sent them like a whole email with changes and bugs that I know of, and they said they'll look into it and maybe make some changes. So
it's in the Danger Zone mode itself.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you can outline some of those here, like what your personal vision is, since you're the one here who has the most playtime in the mode.
So I think like the bump mines are a huge factor of Danger Zone, and seeing videos and seeing streams like of people killing people with bump mines and stomping them. I think that's the way to go. Like and for that reason, when you order like the jump kit, you get like the extra jumps, you get the bump mines, and you get a parachute, which sounds nice, the parachute, but it actually kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because it opens automatically after. Like I don't even know when it actually opens. It's really random. I feel like at least it's random. It's like when you're below the height you started at or something.
Yeah, you can also trigger it, I think, manually by hitting the
You
jump
can
key.
yeah. Like that's fine, but I suggested to them to just make it manual trigger only, for example.
Only manual, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't see a reason why it should trigger automatically, and that will make like the whole bump mine killing thing way more attractive to everyone. Because if you fail, you can just hit the space bar and just use the parachute.
Yeah,
I think
I
that
will
will
also
be
say
more beginner friendly.
Anecdotally, I never use the parachute. Like I order the kit and I get that every round, and I just leave the parachute on the ground after the crate. You know, I don't even bother equipping it because of the exact reason you're saying. It's actually counterproductive to the method. Yeah.
Yeah, and then some general bugs and other smaller suggestions, but we'll see if anything comes of that.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that Valve at least are open to, in theory, receiving that kind of stuff, and they responded with we'll take a look at it, which is super super trivial, like super consistent, and like exactly what you would expect out of Valve. Yeah, we'll take a look at it. That's like we'll take it under advisement, almost like okay, off you go. But hopefully they actually mean it, right? Like hopefully they do, and you know they have addressed bugs in the past, so with any luck we'll see even more. So I think at that point we could probably hop into the next map if you guys are good.
I think we can do that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, ready?
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and set us up? Catfood's the one operating the server here, so take a.
That's never a good idea, by the way.
Catfood the operator. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
World exclusive preview. Yeah, indeed. We are about to take a look at the next map from the latest and greatest Danger Zone team to grace this side of the globe. That's what we're headed into just now.
We should have sound effects, right?
Yeah.
Build up music.
The drum roll, and then like when we finally load in, it's like that party popper sound. Yeah. It's perfect. So obviously this is it's not 100% finished, we'll say. And I think we did have some issues on the server setup where some things were loading in, or like some textures are missing from our server configuration, but I think it's pretty minor. Like for the most part, we're seeing what is meant to be here. So this is
like very, very early on. We've been developing this like for a month, maybe, maybe a bit more, right? Yeah, and this is like super, super early on. But we'll plan on releasing like a gray box with all the buildings and a playable version fairly soon. So you can actually playtest maybe this time around.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, that was something we didn't touch on too much about the Frostbite side of things, but I heard that you guys couldn't really do much playtesting because of the compile times and also because of actually configuring a custom Danger Zone lobby is like an insanely difficult task. So hopefully there's been some development on that end, and maybe Valve will even help people out as more interest comes up. But as we're getting into this is I saw the map file name is Vineyard. So maybe you guys can sort of walk us through here if you want to talk about the layout, Rexer. I'm assuming you reprised your role as the layout man this time around.
Yeah, I did. So maybe we can start right here. Here you can actually see the beautiful paint drawing over the displacements.
Perfect.
Cool.
So you can kind of see how I planned everything out, and then we have like the different areas already blocked out to some extent, and also textured with a very basic texture. So yeah, whatever. Like a few things about this layout. It's obviously an island because I'm never gonna do a non-island map again. You have a castle in the middle, similar to Sirocco maybe, but also quite different in every other regard from the whole shape of it. And something interesting, which I believe is normally like bad in Danger Zone, having like a pit more or less. Jungle had an area where you basically only had one exit off, and you were stuck when you get in there. But this whole valley area kind of acts like a pit, but I think we worked around the issue of being stuck because it's so wide, and you actually have different houses and cover in it. And I think it's quite interesting how like you're completely enclosed on all sides by like terrain. Almost you're not on an island. And another thing that might get Rush excited. We have this terrain is fairly easy for bump mines because you have fairly little rocks compared to Frostbite. Not so many like hard cliffs. More smooth terrain and roofs, which enable you to basically jump over the whole map. Yeah, and then we have different areas, like different themes. This will be a village in the end. We're planning to have like more colorful buildings here, like on the side of the cliff with the church in the middle. Compared to this is going to be a town, which is more like a classic Italian style, old town with like a castle. We've got a reference for this. I don't know what you would call this in the middle. Yeah, and then over here you have the vineyards and the whole like. This is going to be a winery with also smaller underground.
Oh, interesting. You already have this blocked out as well.
Yep. Three entrances. With like a few smaller buildings. So I think the map should be more themed into areas. Like this is going to be like the ruin area.
Mm-hmm.
So like the big temple ruin here. So you can just more easily get around the map and just figure out where you are, which I think is something on Frostbite, because we do have so many copy, paste, and just retextured buildings, which is more difficult on Frostbite, which I hope will be easy here on this map.
One thing I'm noticing so far about the layout as I've been watching you sort of give us the tour is you guys have a lot of areas where obviously you had that dip, you were talking about that pit area and where you're enclosed in all terrain. At the same time, it looks like you guys have a raise back up towards the border, and then it kind of raises back down. It's almost like a bell curve in a way where it's going up and down and up and down, obviously reaching the apex in that center piece. So was this a deliberate decision for you guys to also have that raised outer border for a lot of these areas, just so that we have a little bit more of that verticality in these engagements? Because, I mean, personally, that seems like what's super definitive about super characteristic of Danger Zone fights in general is when you see an engagement from varying height levels, and there's many different opportunities to do that, which is one of the main reasons why like jumping on rooftops is so fun as well. But in this case, you're almost building that into the terrain. Was that like a conscious thing or more unconscious?
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at this like this island kind of thing that's cut off by the river, playing on the beach here almost completely cuts you off from the rest of the map, which is like there's no scout from the other side of the map that can reach you here. So this whole area acts like a different part of the map, completely separated, which leads to more close range fights. Because in general, you do have like UMPs or SMGs in general in Danger Zone, which are not really meant to be super long range fights. So forcing more short range fights in these like little areas was definitely a consideration.
Interesting.
It's also nice to see that there's also a bar.
Have you found the alcohol? Oh, you have.
Yeah, 4 bottles, I think.
That's enough for one for each of us, and me. I can be the straight edge boy who just drives everybody home afterwards.
That's so nice of you. Thanks.
Yeah. So I'm also curious if the roles have already started to be distributed here. So maybe Slimek can speak to this. Are you also reprising your role of like essentially assigning these tasks out and being the one to check up on everybody, making sure they're all on task?
Later on, probably, yeah. But as of now, I'm focusing on schoolwork and stuff.
Right.
So I can't really participate that much. But I've made some textures already. Something I wasn't really doing before, so that's kind of an exciting new thing.
Yeah, new challenge, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you also have to ever have to be like more hard on the guys from like get your work done, everything?
Yeah, you have to be the mom.
Is there time that someone is slacking, like you said in the beginning of the stream that With Frostbite, there was like some motivational problems, but of course, like it's also not really everyone's job, right? It's like you do this for fun, and you hope that the level will enter into the game, and then you get like, yeah. But that's not something you should keep in mind. I think creating the level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you ever have to say like get your work done, or we need it on that day? Because I think it's hard to, because they're not working for you per se.
Yeah, we don't do deadlines. It's more like a friendly poke, I would say. Like,
Right.
do this maybe in your free time.
Right. Cool.
I know I had a bit of an issue after Half-Life Alyx released because I wanted to mess with the Source 2 tools, and I think I did for about a month, and then I was like, I guess I'll go back to Source 1. I don't want to, but
yeah, I haven't fiddled with the new editor yet. But is it like, of course, there's like a lot of new options, but how do you say, it's like it looks kind of similar than the Hammer editor for Source for CSGO. So
yeah.
is it, what's like the biggest drawback what you had when you had to go back?
The fact that with the Source 2 stuff, it's more like everything's mesh based, so you have a lot more freedom. But it's not like Source 1's BSP system is bad to say, but it restricts you a lot more. So having to go back from like a free editing type to a more restrictive setting was irritating, to say the least.
It's like workflow problems, right? It's just slowing you down.
Yeah, because you're like, I picture this in my head. I want to do it, and you can do it pretty simply in like Source 2, like just imagining it and doing it. But then for BSP, it's like, it's a block, another block, and
too many blocks.
More steps involved in getting to that final stage.
And also the way you can scale models, right? And you can do it in all access.
Oh yeah, that's cool too.
That will be really handy for a DZ map as well, right? With the rocks and everything.
Yeah, and the tile mesh or tile sets, whatever they're actually called, that stuff is it's so cool to me. But yeah, just port it to Source 2, please. Thank you.
Yeah, but you're probably gonna have like different limitations, right? If you want to have like a DC map in Source 2, it's going to be easy, you think? From what you know right now.
Compile times get even longer.
Yes, actually.
Oh God. You're right. I don't know. I don't know if.
I mean, like also like a DC map in VR would be really cool though. Mm-hmm. Like a 5v5 map, like for CSGO is maybe too fast or something. But also, this feels more like real life, if that makes sense. Like more like paintball.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. For sure, one of the things that I'm looking forward to when I'm looking at this map is actually seeing some of the... I've already sort of can tell that the layout is considered... is already sort of benefited from the first draft of Frostbite, like going into that and doing that layout, and then you're taking those lessons over. So if maybe there's like a specific area already, Rexer, that you'd like to show us off that you think is like almost a culmination of the lessons you've already learned. Like, here's an area where we've already got the block out. We think it's going to be really good. And we specifically know that we wouldn't have been able to make it this good in the first draft without making Frostbite first. Is there anything that's already like that to you?
I'd say the village area probably, because it's also like everything you see here has been done, like the blockouts by quoting me, or Haaselh0ff did some too. And I started this village, like the general layout, and quoting took over and did some of the interiors. We spoke over like which buildings should be accessible, and on Frostbite we probably would have just opened every floor and everything basically. And here, I think we've already done a better job of like blocking sidelines with this wall, for example, when you just want to enter, because this is kind of a long sideline. I mean, for easy, it's fine, but like it's just another thing you can take into consideration. And also like this building is accessible, but also not really. It has like 2 rooms basically, or 3. Whereas on Frostbite, that would have had like 4 or 5 rooms, and all of these buildings are completely not inaccessible. This one again, just 2 rooms, simple, easy to understand. And you have like here, just 1 room, have like movement options to wrap around. There's just more thought went into how the buildings like interact with each other,
Right.
and work as a cohesive. Whereas on Frostbite, we just we put on different instances and made it look nice, but there was
I was going to say this looks more like a level, and Frostbite looks more like an actual town or actual landscape. And but also like you said that you want to. Of course, you guys still like a long way to go, but I think already like every area is very indistinguishable. Like also, I really like this as well, like the little coast area, and even it has this castle vibe, which ties it together to the castle. You instantly know where you are, right? And then you have like this rune here.
Yes.
What's it called? This is where they held the concerts, right? The Greek or no?
Yeah. What's it called? Like a theater?
Yeah, it must have been like
theater?
amphitheater or something. There's some term for it, but I'm not cultured enough.
Yeah. But it's so cool already. I really like the blockout already. It's really cool.
Yeah, so it's like a thing. It's just more areas, like more distinctive areas, and how like we've got 2 towns this time around, basically, or village/town areas. They are just more unique and more thought when, or we'll go into how the buildings interact with each other. And another thing, maybe, which I don't think, maybe here on in the castle, like more of these simple movement options, what Valve really did a great job on their official maps, but just movement without the extra jump, basically, so you can get onto roofs and gain like different positions without having to buy bump mines. This is just something we want to emphasize more. Make sure you can actually move around the map easily.
Yeah, I did want to ask about how much you guys are starting to balance around players having the exo jump or a bump mine or some other movement option, because I'm not 100% sure how much height you actually get, but I'm pretty sure like anything that you need a boost for normally, you can probably do with just an exo jump. I don't know if that's 100% the case, but
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so in that case, it's almost like you have, if you have an area where you can boost, especially since right now DZ is 2 teams to 2 players to a team. It's almost like it's like another way that you can reinforce the value of having that boost spot, because it's also good for if you have an exo jump. And I don't know how much you want to emphasize that in a map case. Like, do you want to balance the map around the idea that more people should be getting exo jump? Or is that something you just want to keep open? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, which I believe Blackside is the best danger zone map. And when Blackside was made and released, there was no extra jump. Okay. And I think it's when you play Blackside, it's like very obvious how much thought went into designing buildings and just little like AC units on the side of buildings, so you can reach positions without the extra jump. Because you are like, even when you buy extra jump normally at the start of the round, you won't have any. So I think it's always better to design in a DZ level without the extra jumps in mind, and the extra jumps just open up more possibilities and make other stuff easily accessible. But like right here, this is probably the highest point of the map. This is going to be a fairly strong position. You can overlook this whole valley. But you also like fairly open from either side. Like you can't just duck here.
Yes.
You're always open from some sides.
And it doesn't look like there's an easy way to get back down either. This is not like the clock tower where you can just jump back down to another floor if you get attacked. Yeah. Yeah.
You'll have to bump mine on here if you want to get that position. It's going to be pretty strong, I'm guessing. Although we'll have to see that in playtest. But people with scouts up here are gonna have a good time.
You're gonna have a good time unless somebody else counter snipes, right? Which is always the option.
True. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, also because of the background, your silhouette is like very visible from far away. There's like no mountains or whatever. It's just sky.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, that's true.
So it's super fair, I think.
Haaselh0ff, I heard earlier you already started doing some of these blockouts. Did you happen to be responsible for the underground here as well, or is that not yet something you have explored just yet?
I started blocking out some stuff like this little sewer section. I'm not 100% if I like how I have it currently, but I've started on some stuff. It's not going to be near as complex, of course. I think it's literally just right now it's just a way for you to get from the lower like the beach area here, because there's no real way to easy way to get up right now to get from down here back to like up to the main land section where you actually want to be at.
It's cool to tie it in sewer thematically, though. Like that's something that I've noticed about this map, and Pullman even sort of said it in a bit of a different way. He said, "Oh, actually themed underground areas," and that's almost like what I feel like, because a lot of the Black Side areas or Sirocco areas are like you had caves and Frostbite for the most part. It felt like in the other maps it was pretty much just, oh, there's a facility under here, okay, but it was like very like vague in terms of how tied in it was. In this case, it's almost like and in general, I think this extends to the whole rest of the map. I like that it doesn't feel like the same sort of ominous government Overwatch thing where they have like you locked in and there's some psycho experiment happening. It almost feels like the psycho experiment's happening, but it's in like an actual city. You know what I mean? Like it's a different thematic almost.
Yeah.
So because of that, you guys have to justify it as if this were an actual city, which I think leads to maybe lends more naturally to like different layouts.
Yeah, and I know for like the castle section, we're hoping to have like a dungeon area.
Perfect.
I haven't started too much on that, but I love the idea already. So, it's always nice.
Where's it based on?
Italy.
It's great. Oh, Italy. That's great.
Tuscany.
Tuscany. Yeah. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Looks a little familiar. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, but another thing, obviously, like Italy is a fairly iconic theme for Counter-Strike.
Yep.
Like Inferno, Italy, and Tuscan. But I think it can be very, very different. I think it already looks different in Danger Zone because you can have like more stuff with the terrain. And I don't think it's gonna be like an Inferno clone or something.
No, not at all.
I think we need more stuff like this in Danger Zone anyway, though, because like I was saying earlier, it's almost like super bleak, the normal ones.
Yeah.
And like they do have, while they're distinct in terms of the visuals, it's the two Valve ones are super like ominous and just this omnipresence of being watched. And I think maybe they were almost too restrictive. They didn't want to explore too much stuff, is what it felt like to me. And they wanted to keep it to that thematic. Whereas this is like, okay, you're going to have that as the setting in the background, but we have this like Italy type aesthetic that you obviously otherwise just see in more conventional maps, but seeing it explored in a very different light is definitely going to be really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. So,
all right.
Yeah, because the DC maps from Valve are more like military based, right?
Yes,
this is
that's
more
what
like
it feels like. That's a good word for it.
That's on vacation. I like it.
This is more urban warfare with a nice setting.
I certainly like how with DZ in general, you're just less restricted, I feel, in terms of everything. I had trouble myself trying to come up with like 5v5 layouts for maps that I worked on, but then coming to this was such a blessing, honestly, to just not have to worry about that. So
because I also think like with 5v5 maps, it's fairly easy to clip them, right? So players won't get stuck. I was already trying on Frostbite just earlier, but I couldn't get it to work. Well, I didn't get stuck, but I can imagine that's also like a completely different task than normally if you would like design a 5v5 map, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have like a lot of test players as well that go into the level every week and then check out the new changes to see if they can get stuck or jump on something. Of course, jump on something isn't the problem here, but.
Yeah, actually in DZ, like Valve doesn't have like a single clip on either of their DZ maps.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we've got like if stuck spots got reported to us, we fix them. Like sometimes with clips, or sometimes just move stuff around.
Right.
But generally, DZ maps don't have any clipping at all.
Just on stairs, of course. But
no, even the stairs don't have clipping. They're
because all the stairs were they're just models.
Oh, okay, right. Fecal.
Yeah. So like Blackside doesn't have a single clipping brush, I think.
Oh,
that's crazy. I never would have guessed something like that. Obviously, I'm not a mapper myself, but that seems like almost a staple of map making is that you have to clip stuff. And
Yeah, also because of stuff like this, right? But yeah.
Yeah, like the thing is, like you expect to, like a player in Danger Zone expects to be able to go everywhere, basically.
Yeah.
And if it's clipped off, like it kind of breaks the idea.
No, true. No, I meant more like if you get like stuck between rocks or.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
fixed those. We fixed those either with another rock or just clip them. Yeah.
all right. I guess as we were sort of coming to a close here, I can start asking a little bit of exit questions. And once again, for the Twitch chat, I'll pose the opportunity for you guys to get your voices heard, your questions answered. But definitely think that, you know, it's really cool. It was really cool to get another look at Frostbite, obviously. And it's really cool to see that you guys are still going strong with the idea of continuing to work on Danger Zone content, because I think personally, and this is more of like a general topic, but I think that what Haaselh0ff said about Danger Zone mapping being like a breath of fresh air for mappers is probably going to lead to more people coming in and trying to work in this kind of environment, because you're going to have the more creative freedom, right? And so maybe in that sense, you might see your team of 6 go back up to the size that it was at for Frostbite towards the end of its development or something. But or maybe there will be more competitors. Who knows? But
I mean, there are a few maps in development right now.
Okay.
Awesome. So I think we'll see one of them quite soon released. Yeah, but obviously it offers a lot more freedom, but you shouldn't underestimate the task.
Of course.
All of the compiler issues that we faced, I don't know, if you're a solo mapper and you have to deal with that stuff, like I don't know how Michael did on any of that stuff. It's insane to me without just going crazy. So, good luck.
Also, it's already like when are you gonna put it on the workshop? Is there like do you guys have like a date in mind or something?
I mean, for this gray box, whenever we're done, I'm guessing like a month.
All right, cool.
Yeah, for the gray box at least.
Yeah.
That's closer than it feels.
I thought you meant the final level. No, just kidding.
The
I
whole
think
thing
final level, final
Yeah.
level around.
Can we write it down like 1 month done? Right? Okay.
I mean, somewhere in the summer, I'd say.
Cool.
Ready for the next operation.
That'll almost be thematic too, because obviously Frostbite gets added for CSGO in the middle of winter for most people, and now like if you're going to be dropping this in the summer, it's a beautiful map for that time of year. So I wonder if that was strategic. I wonder if or is that just happy accident twice in a row? Like how many times can you get lucky before somebody starts calling it a strategy?
Yeah, we'll see.
We do have a couple questions filtering in here. Veek asks, did you guys pre-plan the layout or go with the feel? I think you sort of addressed this, Rex, earlier, that you had sort of started to draw upon the layout. Was it a similar process to Frostbite in that you draw the map picture, the paint picture that we're seeing in some areas?
Exactly. You can, when you spectate me, you can see it here. Like that's
the
original.
I'm also showing the spot.
The original paint texture is still here. Like the drawing. You can see how I drew like the different height levels.
Yeah, the different colors corresponding to different height levels. Okay.
Exactly. But then, like after I did like the rough displacement layout, and now we are just going off feel. Like this area, for example, has changed. Like this balcony was added, and just provides more cover because like I don't plan that in depth, for example.
Right. So you get like the first feel, the general layout, right? And then after that, you guys start to work it around and figure out what might be a compelling gameplay. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Quoting asks, what were the decisions behind the sky color on Vineyard? So I'm not sure if that's final, actually, but
I don't know. It's final for now. We'll see.
Well, I took some reference of like sunrise in Tuscany, and I took the colors from them, made the fog and the sky gradient.
Okay.
I think it looks okay for now.
Yeah,
I think it looks really cool.
It gives the map a whole different look than the other DC maps, which are more gray. And if you look at like Tuscany references, like sunsets or sunrises, you can often see like the crystal blue sky and then like the orange, I don't know what it is, like horizon.
Yeah.
We tried to replicate that here. It is it's a bit janky, to be honest. But I think it gives the map a cool look. But we're obviously open to changes, and that's not set in stone. But yeah,
No, I
for the
I
gray
think
box,
it looks
everything
good.
is yeah, of course, everything is a work in progress, right?
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I think that might just be it. So I'm not sure if you guys have any sort of any sort of final words for us. I'll close with a nice wrap up question, which I think will encapsulate most of what we already talked about, and we'll just go down the list here. But do you guys have any sort of words if you were gonna inspire somebody else to get into DZ mapping? Haaselh0ff already sort of touched on it, so maybe you can continue your point. But is there any sort of advice, any pitfall to avoid, or main thing to just always keep in mind in general as far as making DZ maps go? Anything you would have to say to all those young mappers who are looking up to esteemed mapper Haaselh0ff?
And this doesn't have obviously anything to do with the map. This is just from my time compiling. The compile times are ridiculously long unless you have a pretty beefy CPU. Right now I have a 5950X, and even then everything still takes about 15 hours, I think, which isn't, to be honest, it's not that bad.
No, but that's the gray box, right? Or...
No, sorry, I'm talking about for Frostbite.
Oh, okay. Right,
yeah.
No.
For this only takes about 40 minutes or so right now.
But still for gray box though.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
40 minutes.
Yeah,
really long,
yeah, that's for
yeah.
gray box though. Yeah. So, but just don't underestimate the compile times. I would. There are a lot of different settings and such that you need to take into account for as well when trying to compile. But I'm sure if anybody ever has any questions, just feel free to ask. I think all of us are on the Source Engine Discord and pretty pingable if you have questions. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. All right, Slimek, what's your advice to all the youngsters out there?
I would say it looks easy, but it's really not. Like, don't underestimate the amount of work you have to put in, and definitely don't go in solo. I mean,
no, that's smart. Don't go in solo. Yeah.
it's crazy to go solo, unless you're Michael, who made 3 DZ maps on his own. I don't know how he did it, but yeah.
It's not for us mere mortals to understand, is what it sounds like. All right, Rexer, you want to close us off here? Let us know what your advice is to anybody who wants to be starting making DZ maps.
I'd say play Danger Zone a lot. I think if you know how to make diffuse hostage levels, this is different. This is very different, and you need to understand the mechanics of Danger Zone to get an understanding of how this might play and what you need to look for. And I think if you don't play Danger Zone or don't really know a lot about Danger Zone, you could run into problems later down the road where you just face issues in the gameplay that might have worked on paper, but that just don't work in Danger Zone. So get a good understanding of the game mode.
Well, there you go. Understand the game mode. Don't go in solo. So make sure your teammates also understand, right? And don't underestimate the compile times.
Make it an island, right?
Oh yeah.
Or making an island.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, there you go. That's
what I learned. So, yeah.
That's the advice directly from the legends themselves, who have not only, as Whaleman says in the chat, not only did they make one Danger Zone map, they decided it's time to make another. So there you go. We'll probably be seeing this in about a month in terms of Gray Box. So keep your eyes peeled. Give them a follow on Twitter. I'm sure they'll be posting updates as it pertains, as it comes out.
And it's done in a month, so.
Yeah, completely finished, of course, 100% polished, and will be added to the game in 1 month. Yeah, that's usually
looking forward to it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. And once again, this has been First Person Mapper with Catfood and myself. Bid you a good day, and stay safe out there.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.